Hi there, I'm Matt Rossner and I'm here to give you some productivity tips on how to be a more productive developer with Salesforce Order Management. So if you've worked with Salesforce Order Management for any reasonable amount of time, you probably need to create an order, right? I mean, if you want to test things out, if you're developing a new feature, you've got to create orders, right? I mean, you need test orders, and once an order gets to a certain state, you can't put it back into a previous state, which as a developer, it's a problem because you want to run things over and over again. You need things to be repeatable. So there are Postman collections. You've probably seen this Postman collection here, which is available on GitHub. And you can use this to create orders, and there's a bunch of different use cases. But if your use case isn't there, or if you need to modify one of these, it can be pretty time consuming. Also, using Postman means I have to switch out of the IDE. I have to go into Postman. You've got a lot of collection of variables here, which I have to set, which again, this works great, but if you're a developer, you can be a bit more efficient with that. So that brings me to the Salesforce Order Builder, which is a little tool I've developed. So over the months, about a year or so, I've been working with order management. I've written a lot of little Apex scripts to help me create orders and help me create orders in a specific state for something I want to test. So after a while, I was able to consolidate that into this little project, which I call Order Builder. And what it is a Fluent Style API. If you're not familiar with Fluent Style, check the link in the description below. But what it is an API that you can do right in Apex. So I typically use anonymous Apex to run this. And with this Fluent Style, I can build an order. So in this example, I'm saying give me a new order builder with an account. I'm telling it to use the account address. I'm giving it a sales channel by name. I want to use today's dates. And I want to add a product, and here I'm just giving it a SKU and a quantity. And as the comment says here, it's going to look up the price in the price book. And I'm telling it to use a standard price book here, and I'm also giving it a delivery method. And then I just tell it to build, and that's going to do everything. So that's the equivalent of, if I switch back to Postman for a second, you need to run all of these Postman requests to do the same thing. Which if you do that, I mean it's pretty quick, but sometimes Postman hangs. Sometimes you have authentication issues. And if you want to change the product, like here you're getting two products no matter what you do, I can remove some of these requests, but that'll crash, then I have to go edit the JSON. So it gets very complicated if I want to add or remove products. Whereas, here I can just say add a product and I can add another line, and I'm going to show you that in a second. We're going to do a live demo. So without further ado, let's actually get into a demo. So here we go. So I like working directly out of my IDE. I'm using IntelliJ here, but you can just as well use VS Code. And like I said, I like to use the anonymous Apex. And if you do clone this repo, be sure to check out some of the examples here. So we can run a few of these, and I just want to go through a few things that are interesting. So notice here I set this up in a transaction. So I'm putting a save point, and I'm going to run my code here. And then at the end I'm going to roll back. So I'm actually going to depending on this flag, right? So if I set this flag to true, and this essentially lets me preview the order. So if I'm doing this on a UAT org, and I don't want to pollute the org with a bunch of junk data, I can just build my order, and I'm actually printing it out to the console here, but not actually creating the order. So I can fine tune my order, and then when I really am happy with it, then I can remove the rollback, and I can actually commit it and let it go. So let's go create an order with all that. So I'm gonna type this out, but typically you would have some script templates, so you wouldn't actually have to type this out. One other important thing. So I've actually created this in one single Apex class. My original design, I had done something a little maybe fancier. I'd done a few classes, but I wanted to keep it simple for deployment. So you really just need to deploy this one class, and it will do everything. So in its basic form, I can just do something like this, right? New order builder.build. Now, I mean, this is going to crash. It should give me some kind of error, but I just want to show you how this works. So I run my anonymous Apex, and here, okay, I'm getting an error. It's telling me an account is required. So, there's going to be a few required fields, and I probably didn't cover every case, so you might actually end up with a null pointer, but I am trying to work out those little issues as it go. So, let's get an account by name, and so this is dependent on org data, right? So you do have to have org data. I'm not providing sample data in this repository, but You should have your own way of getting sample data, and maybe I'll do another video about that. So I've got my account. I know I need a delivery method, which I think was like DHL, something I had in the system. I don't know, what are some other things I need? I probably want to get a product. So if I want to add a product, I do order builder. So I originally had like a product builder, whatever, but then you have to deploy multiple classes and you have dependencies. So instead I just did this order builder product by SKU, and I've got one in the system, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And I'll just add one of those, and that's it, right? Now there's some interesting things you can do as well. Like I've added here, let's say I want to set the price. Maybe I don't have price books in Salesforce. I'm maybe just taking the price directly as it comes from Commerce Cloud or from whatever point of sale is sending me the order. So I can actually just hit here price and say like, I don't know, 50. And this will now just create me, it's not going to look in the price book, right? Like if I didn't put the price, it will look in the price book, but here I put the price, so it's gonna use what I said. Now actually at the time, I need to actually specify no price book. That's actually a bug which I will fix, so I will make it so that if you put a price, you don't have to put this no price book. But for now I still have to put the no price book, otherwise it'll crash. So just for the purpose of the demo. And let's see, I think I'm missing something, but anyway, let's run it and see what happens. Okay, so I'm missing a sales channel. So no problem, I'll add a sales channel by name, so I don't need to bother with Salesforce IDs. I believe I called this in-store. And I think this will actually create me an order, so let's see what happens. Okay, I'm missing some more fields. Okay, I'm missing dates. So yeah, I'm going to use my little helper here called today dates. And don't worry, I'm going to show you a way that, here we're getting a lot of errors, but if we follow the example, okay, I'm having a bit of an issue with the price. So actually, I'm just going to use the standard price book for the purpose of this demo. So we'll use the standard price book. Okay, so now it's created me an order, which is probably not going to take the 50. It's going to take whatever is in the standard price book. But that is, by the time you actually check this out, I will have fixed that. So let's take a look in Salesforce. So I can go check out this order. And this is not very productive, actually. I'll show you some other productivity, but okay, so we've got some orders, and so this is just a scratch org I'm playing around on, so there's definitely a lot of junk data in here. Like I was saying before, if you're on a UAT or even a dev environment, you might not want to like pollute your org with too much junk data. But okay, I've got an order number here, which I just created, and it's in draft state. And let's take a look. So I've got my order product, which again is 45, even though I told it to make it 50, but it's coming up as 45, but that's fine. That will be fixed later on. And yeah, so that's it really. That's like the basic, let's create an order. Now there were a few other things I wanted to show here. So like I said, I like to wrap this in a transaction. So I'm going to just grab this. I won't type it all out because that'll take too long. But so we can do that. And I won't bother with the flag, right? I mean, I just put that in there for the script, but you can feel free to edit this stuff and make it your own. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create this order, and I want to tune this order to my specific use case, whatever that may be. I mean, I don't really have one in this case, but we are going to do that in another video. Anyway, yeah, I want to preview this thing, but if I run this as it is, it's just going to roll back the transaction, and I won't know what happened. So I've put a query up here, and what we can do, and this is something I do all the time in Salesforce, not just for order management, but this one line here is like the lifesaver. Or I don't know if it's a lifesaver, but it's a time saver. So JSON serialized pretty, and I pass it an object. You can give it any object, and it will give you the output in JSON, and it's really useful. It's kind of like a monitor into what's going on. So one of the biggest productivity tips I could give anybody watching this is use the debug output. Don't rely on switching to Salesforce. If I switch to Salesforce and I'm going to go search for an order and search for a field, I mean that works, but you're wasting a lot of time. It might not seem like so, but if you do like over a whole day of development, you're probably wasting, I don't know, like hours just switching back to Salesforce, waiting for Salesforce to load, whatever. So let's have a look at this and see what it does. So I'm going to hit the debug only here and get some debug output. And yeah, so here it's created me an order, and I can see everything, right? I can see all my account IDs and status and all the fields here. So you can tune these queries, right? Like I put these queries here just as a standard, and it's going to give you everything, but you might not be interested in all these fields, right? There's a lot of fields here. So I would advise whatever you're working on, you can tune these queries and just pick the fields that interest you. But I do have everything here, which is nice. I can play around with that and get the order the way I want. Once I'm happy with the order, then I can just I can comment this out and run it again, and then let it create the order. So anyway, let's do one more example, and then I'm going to stop this video because I don't want it to run too long. But let's do another more interesting video. Another more interesting example. So let's take this one, and I'm going to change it a bit because I don't even like the way it's written. But let's we'll take this and let's we'll edit that a little bit. Let's grab that here. And okay, we'll get that. And let's run through this example. What's it doing? So so first I want to show you one little shortcut. You can do this new order builder with defaults. Okay, so with defaults I can remove a lot of things. So for one thing, I'm going to get rid of this, and the default is actually going to tell it to use the account address. So rather than typing in the address, it's going to just take the address that's on this account. And let me just show you what that does. Actually, I should have maybe shown this earlier, but so if you do this order with defaults, you're going to get random order names. So it's going to generate you something like test followed by a random number. That's a format I came up with, which maybe I'll change down the line, but I think for now it's good. It shows that it's a test order and it gives you some random name. I'm telling it to use the account addresses. I'm telling it to use a standard price book. I want to use today dates, and I also want to make the order be activated. So you can't actually save an order activated. You need to save it as a draft, and then you can update it to activated. So if you put this activated flag here, it will do that automatically for you. So with that, let's try to clean this up a bit. So I've got my account name, I've got my sales channel. I'm going to use today dates. I actually don't need that because it's in the default, so let's make that cleaner. I've got a product here. We'll put quantity 2. So this is another one I didn't talk about, but I want to use any payment gateway. So that's also a little shortcut. There is a payment gateway by name if you want to specify a gateway, but this any payment gateway is just going to do a lookup, and it'll take the first payment gateway it finds. You probably only have one in your system, so you can probably use this, and it should do fine. I'm going to use the standard price book and activate it, right? And these are part of the default, so actually let's get rid of that, make it cleaner. Here's another one we didn't see yet. But there's a payment info and a payment builder. So a lot of what you're developing around order management is going to be about payments and credit card authorizations. So this one is actually doing a credit card sale. So this is coming from an in-store point of sale, and somebody's paid by credit card. So there's nothing to do. We're just like kind of keeping that for info. But let's do something more fun. Let's do it like so I put a few shortcuts in here, right? You can do a captured credit card or authorized credit card. Let's do an authorized credit card. It doesn't matter. I can switch this up. So just, again, imagine doing this in Postman. If you're switching between authorization and capture, it's actually not even the same object. So you've got quite a bit of work to make that switch in Postman. So just to show you the power of this thing, right? Like, not to brag about it, but anyway. We'll keep my delivery method DHL. And here's a few other little bonuses which I've included in the project. So this is not directly part of the order builder. This is actually a separate class, but I've included it here and you can play around with this. But yeah, I've taken this a bit further. So I'm going to create an order, and then I'm actually going to create an order summary. So I've put here the OMS Connect helper, and this is kind of a wrapper. If you work with the Connect API classes, they're quite verbose. So you can just call Connect API directly here, but I put the helper really to make it happen with less code, right? Like if I showed you how much code you need to create fulfillment orders, okay, here's a little helper. I'm saying create a fulfillment order on this order summary. Now, I mean, it's just going to create me one fulfillment order with the entire contents of the order. So maybe you want to, customize that. And I actually do have a helper which lets you split the order, but there might be some cases where you need to go directly into Connect and do it yourself. But for the most part, if you're developing a feature, you can probably get away with generating one, or I have another one that lets you just split it into two. So anyway, you can play around with that. But yeah, the point is I'm going to create my order summary and a fulfillment order, because that's usually what you want when you're testing stuff out. And yeah, so here I'm doing once again my monitor, and I'm going to roll this back. So well, hold on. Let's change this query. I have a better query lying around, so I might pause the video for a second here. But so I'm going to use this query instead, which is going to be a bit verbose. And again, I can tune this, but just to show you, we're going to get our order summaries or order payment summaries, our fulfillment orders. And again, the point is I want to show you how you can check this stuff directly from within your IDE without having to even log into Salesforce. And once you start doing this, it becomes addictive. You want to do everything directly from the console because it's just so much faster. Really. Anyway. So you see how fast it was? Like if I ran that through Postman, that would probably run like 10 seconds. I mean, that seems fast. If you're a functional consultant, you're probably like, oh, 10 seconds is fast. But I don't know. That was like, I don't know, a second. I like it to be fast. So we've got an order summary. I can see. So remember I said it uses random names. It's going to generate you something like this. It's going to be test dash and some random number that I'm generating, right? Yeah, and I mean, I won't go through all this, but you can see everything here, all the fields, the totals. I can see my fulfillment order is created. So I didn't put the fulfillment order items, but I could just as well do that. I could, and I'm not limited to one query. I could write maybe 2 or 3 queries to get everything I want. And again, I wouldn't do a select all like I'm doing here, field standard. I would pick the fields that interest me, but everything is here. So I like that. And I can go through a few iterations, but let's commit this and let's actually create this thing. Okay, so that ran nice and fast. And I'm going to grab the order summary ID directly here. And okay, let's go into Salesforce and we can check this out and see what it looks like. Oh, Salesforce is so slow. It's so slow. And okay, so you can see a bit more clearly here. It's created me the order, and I've got a fulfillment order here. I've got an order payment summary, with an authorization, and yeah, that's it. Like play around with it. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. And I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't show you, right? Like the payment authorization. You can actually tell it to, you can actually add a reference number. You can add extra fields too if you've got custom fields. So actually, before I close up this video, I'll just show you some things you can do. But, I can add a gateway reference number. So if you have a payment authorization, you're going to have a PSP reference, and you're probably going to want that. So you can add a reference number here. And I'm going to do another video where we do like a full capture. I'll do it with a real gateway, probably with Adyen or something. I don't know. You can also add extra fields, right? You might have a custom field, right? You can do this with extra fields. So you can either add a field like a key value pair, or you can just add a map string object, right? And you can add a bunch of extra fields. And this one I put everywhere, so you can do that, on the order. So on the order also, I can add extra fields on my order, and I can also add it on the product, right? On the order item line, I can add extra fields there because you probably have a custom field, right? And you want to set that. So yeah, you can do it with extra fields, right? And say my field 1, whatever, is something. I don't know. So yeah, you can do that too. Anyway, I think I'm going to stop the video there. There's like lots of other cool stuff I want to show you, but that's going to have to wait for another video. So, if you like this thing, like and subscribe. And, go check it out on GitHub. I put the address in the description. So yeah, you can go check that out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if the API is missing anything. Let me know if you run into any bugs. If you feel like it, fork the repo, send me a pull request. I'm down for that too. And yeah, thanks for watching.